Remember way back when Konami was really trying to make Frogger relevant again by making a bunch of Frogger games? No? Shows you how well that went over, doesn't it? This is Frogger's Adventures Temple of the Frog for the Game Boy Advance, a game which might as well not even exist because I can't find any other damn information about it. Anyway, we're gonna play this game in Dutch. Nah, not really. We want to experience the brilliant story of Temple of the Frog in a language I'm sure we all understand. And before you say anything, yes, I know it's a game about a cartoon frog and therefore doesn't really need a good story, but this game's kind of written about as well as a really bad kids TV show, so it's kinda like watching a train wreck. Anyway, over there we can actually change the number of lives and continues you start with. You can choose from 3, 5, or 9 of both. It's not really that needed. I mean, this game's not that difficult. It's also not that easy, but I don't know, I just like setting my lives and continues to 9 for the hell of it. Of course, I think if you run out of continues, your save file's deleted. Again, this game isn't that difficult, so I've never actually run out of continues, but still, they're there, so I'd expect that to be the case. And here's this guy over here. Honestly, if he just sort of came out of nowhere and said, "Hey, I'm your old pal," I'd probably just run and scream, but Frogger apparently is extremely familiar with him. I guess he was just hanging out between the road and the river, or maybe this is a prequel to the arcade games. I don't know. I don't know the Frogger timeline. By the way, yes, Sacred Temple of the Frog. And yes, Mr. D is more or less Death. So yes, Death is camping out in a sacred frog temple. He could be killing the Belmonts, but he's doing this. Why? I don't know. I guess frogs are important. I mean, there are 2 talking right now, so I guess it's a good idea to take over their temple because they have all the political and economic power in this world. Okay guys, make sure to pay close attention to what he's saying here. You need to get 3 elements in the first area and 5 in the second in order to pass the stages. It's very important that you pay attention to this because they'll never tell you this ever again. Just pay attention, 3 in the first area, 5 in the second. You gotta pay attention to this because it won't tell you ever again. Totally not. Oh man, Death is trying to kill me? What a dick. Alright, so starting off, we've got a fairly simple control scheme. You just move around normally, you press A to jump over a single space, you can press B to use your tongue, and you can press the L and R buttons to turn Frogger around. And by the way, 3 elements in the first area, 5 in the second. Pay attention, make sure you memorize that, it'll never tell you that again. Anyway, this stage is more or less a tutorial and will tell you what I just told you, just spread about. And by the way, that tongue flick is completely useless for everything except picking up butterflies, and even then, you can just move over them to actually grab them. Sometimes butterflies are dangling off a ledge and you have to use the tongue flick to get them, but it really isn't that useful. Right here, the game tells you you need 50 coins to get in the last level. You should not have any problems with this. Like, look, I'm almost a 1/5 of the way there, and I'm just started the first stage in the game. You can definitely get 50 coins by the end of this. It's not a problem. You hardly even need to think about it. Half the time you'll just move over the coins anyway. They're not really that far out of the way. By the way, in case you didn't notice, those little checker flag things, those are checkpoints. Just thought I'd mention it because I don't think the game mentioned it. And if it didn't, well, I'm sure you're all lost without it. Anyway, the jump and glide, as the game calls it, that is pretty much your most useful move, because you'll get a lot of those jumps in the game, and other than avoiding enemies, you're going to be needing to jump over a lot of pits. Anyway, right here, I guess this is kind of a callback to the arcade game, because now we have cars, except they have faces because, I don't know, maybe Frogger has trauma about cars and imagines them as demons or something? I don't know. Or maybe this is, it's a prequel to that game, and teenagers just have a really weird sense of style. I'm not sure. I don't know the Frogger timeline. Please, Konami, release the Frogger timeline so that I may tell you how terrible it is and offer my own timeline instead. Anyway, the game introduces the fact that you can turn around right here, but it's really not that useful in this area because you don't need to turn, you can just move on to these. Basically, turning is going to be useful when you are, say you're riding one of these blocks, but this block right here was actually like one space away, but you weren't actually facing where you need to go. Yeah, that's when turning is useful, just for big jumps. But other than that, really not that useful. Oh no, there is one man in the way. Whatever will I do? Okay, we're on the sparkles. Level cleared. That's it. So that was a fun little tutorial stage, right? Well, now we're in a fire cave. Because those goblins, they don't have normal caves. That's for pansies. They have fire caves. You know why? Because they're extreme. Now, before we can actually move on with the level normally, we actually have to go to 2 little side areas to collect elements. Yeah, we have to pick up the things that allow us to end the level. I mean, say what you will about goblins, but that's pretty polite. I mean, if we could move on without getting these, you know, we might get stuck later on in the level, or at the very least we'd waste our time, and, you know, apparently the goblins don't want that. So, that's pretty nice of them, I gotta say, to just force us to collect these before moving on. Or, you know, they could never let the switch appear at all, and we could just collect 2 elements and then be stuck in this section, but hey, that would also be all sorts of rude and or impolite. And we just can't have that, can we? Now, I'm not quite sure about this, but I think if you collect an element and die, you'll actually start back at the beginning of the level with that element. Now, again, I'm not quite sure about that, I could be wrong about it, but if I'm not, then those are some pretty good speedrunning strats for both people running this game. Oh, am I kidding? I'm the only person playing this. Which on the bright side means I'd probably get the world record just for playing it. Oh look, the Switch is happy now. Anyway, one thing I haven't actually mentioned... Oh, I kind of screwed that up, didn't I? Okay, to get over this without, you know, screwing up, just jump over one, and then you can just, you know, move unhindered. You don't have to wait around for anything. But anyway, as I was saying, one thing I haven't mentioned yet is actually the music, which is actually pretty good for, you know, being in a video game that is a platformer on the Game Boy Advance that is kind of forgettable, and no one's ever really played it. It's got a pretty good soundtrack, actually, especially given the, you know, Game Boy Advance's sound chip thingamajig generally doesn't produce good songs, but this one, pretty damn good. Some of the songs aren't the best, but still it's actually a pretty decent soundtrack that I think is actually on YouTube. At least last time I checked, I think it was there. Didn't I just get a checkpoint? Well, then again, I mean, I'm gonna need it after this. Look at these little pushy walls. Those slow pushy walls almost pushed me to my death, but I just barely avoided them. And that's another checkpoint over there. Okay, I know this is the, you know, the second stage in the game, but isn't that going a little overboard with the checkpoints? I mean, this level is really easy. There's no need for this many checkpoints, for crying out loud. And the end of the level is over here. There should have just been a checkpoint over there, and then you'd have to, you know, get over to the end of the level without that one halfway in between it. It's kind of pointless, all things considered, but whatever. Level cleared. Well, that last stage may have been easy, but where we're going, there are no checkpoints. Gasp! It's time to fight the Goblin. Oh, you are not David Bowie. Now, this fight is really easy. All you have to do is just press 4 switches. However, you have to press them in a certain order, which adds no difficulty whatsoever. Basically, you just have to press them in order of a quarter, half, 3/4, and then full. Then you're done. Not only that, his attacks are really slow and easy to avoid. Honestly, if you die to this guy, you have to be doing it on purpose. There's no way you could die to this guy accidentally. It's impossible. You might also be wondering how he's managing to keep his footing so well on a single tile. To which I respond, he is obviously working by Wile E. Coyote physics, meaning he's not looking down, therefore he does not notice he's falling into a pit, therefore he doesn't actually fall. As a man who has failed many a test on gravity, I am clearly qualified to bullshit physics, and my god, that is the grooviest murder I think I've ever committed. Anyway, we're done here. Next time on Frogger, the difficulty increases by a degree of 1. See you next time!